So in this last section before the test, we are going to be looking for a range of x values. So down here, I want you to put x, put x right here, and it's going to be less than some number that we need to find and greater than some number that we need to find. So I'm going to grab my highlighter here. I'm going to highlight those. We're in search of some boundaries, an upper boundary up here in yellow and a lower boundary down here in blue. So we're going to start our answer down there. We'll be putting two numbers in those slots. So again, this chapter is all about triangles and a lot of the algebra and number stuff, not the proofs and the theorems from chapter 4, but the actual math and numbers that go with it, right? So we had a section, and we had in our last quiz, where it asked if these three lengths could make a triangle, and it was a yes or no question. Do you guys remember how you would answer that question? Yeah, go ahead, Kristen. Yeah, so go closer to my microphone. So yeah, so he said you take the two smaller ones, in this case 4 and 7, and you have to see if they add up to an, I'm going to change this to 10 just so my answer is yes, okay? So you have to see if they add up to a number that's bigger than the third. If so, you say, yep, you can make a triangle. Right? Remember that on our quiz? It was an easy question. It becomes more complicated today because your sides, you don't know what x is. You don't know how long AB is. You don't know how long BC is. And you don't know how long these are. So if I were to say, Elisha, what's the shortest side? She'd go, I don't know. You didn't tell me what x is. Correct? So what you do, the reason this is split into 3 boxes is we are going to assume, first of all, that these first 2 are the shortest sides. Then we're going to add them up. So we're going to go 4x plus 25, just like Tristan said, grab the 2 shortest sides. I don't know what they are. So I'm going to assume it's the first 2 first, and I'm going to add them up, and I'm going to make sure that they outstretch the third one. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is grab those 2 in blue and have them outstretch the third one. The next thing I'm going to do is grab these next 2, and I'm going to make them purple, and I'm going to set up a similar equation. I'm going to say, well, maybe those are the shortest 2, and like Tristan said, those shortest 2 have to add up to something bigger than the third one, which would be that non-purple one over there. All right, so first thing you're going to do is set up 3 situations depending on which 2 are the shortest. So last of all, I'm going to assume that the yellows right here, the first and the last, are the shortest, and I'm going to set up my third equation. So I grab the 2 blue, bigger than the purple, the 2 purple, bigger than the blue, and now the 2 yellow, which would be 4x plus 25, and 9x minus 5, and I'm going to make sure they're bigger than my third one. Once I'm done setting them up, I actually go look and make sure these are all different so I didn't goof up. I've got 9x minus 5 here. I've got 4x plus 20. I'm pretty sure it's all set up. So that's the setup. Any questions on how you set it up, Carter? Now we're going to go solve them. The solving on all of them is the same. So it's not that the work is difficult. There's just a lot of it. Like if Braden was working on his at home tonight on his worksheet, a parent were to look over his shoulder and go, oh my God, what are you doing? Because there's going to be stuff everywhere. But to solve it, let's go ahead and talk about how do I solve this one right here. If you had to solve this, what would you do, Shmurda? Yeah, go ahead, say it. Combine like terms. On all of them, that's how you're going to start. You're going to combine your x's together. All right? Make sure you bring the sign with it. So I'd have 7 x's on the left, right? I mean, correct? And then 25 minus 2 is a 23. One sign error is going to throw the whole problem off. That's what I said last hour. Kids who didn't get the right answer, because I put the right answers up on the board, when they said, what did I do wrong, I just kind of wanted to go, oh my God, because it's so hard to find a mistake. All right? All right? So that is my first situation. I combined like terms just like we said. So on all of these, what's your first step going to be? Combine like terms. And the second step is the same, so it's kind of very repetitive. Kara, what would you do next to solve this next level for the x? Yeah, and she's making a wise choice from yesterday by subtracting 7x. What are you avoiding here? Negatives, yeah. And so she won't have to worry about changing the direction of this sign as long as she gets the smaller amount moved over of x's, and 7 is less than 9. So like this, and then it becomes a two-stepper. So they all have 4 steps. Combine like terms, get the variable on one side, and then go to where it is, and there'll be 2 things you need to get rid of. So it's a 4-step process. On this one, we'd add 5 to get rid of the 5. And I'd have 28 greater than 2x. And then lastly, I would divide by 2. All right? My x would be over here. My 14 would be over here. 1 is done. All right? So in this bottom corner, I'm actually going to leave my inequality with the x, because I like, it's kind of like when you read left to right. So I'm going to put my x on the left. I'm pointing at it, so I'm going to point at it. And I'm going to go like that, and I'm going to let it sit until I'm done with the other ones. All right? So for the next one, what am I going to do first? Combine like terms. Go do it. Okay? So on the next one, go combine your like terms. And again, you'll combine them over on the left. You would have 12 of these x's. Down 2, down 5 will be down 7. Once our like terms are combined, what are you going to do? Subtract 4x. I like that. So over here, Kira told me to subtract 7x, which was a very good choice. She avoided negatives. If over here she decides to do minus 12x, she won't get it wrong. But yesterday, what did we say you have to do when you divide by a negative? Change the direction, and a lot of kids forget that. So I like that Braden is telling me to go over here and move the smaller amount. He's avoiding negatives, so he won't have to worry about changing the direction of the symbol. All right. Once we have the variable on one side, it becomes a two-stepper. So it's a 4-step process. Combine like terms, variable on one side, and then there'll be 2 steps to solve it. In this case, you would add 7, right? So just a lot of algebra. You see how your homework's going to look very... Some kids finished last hour, and doesn't their homework grading look like, holy cow, that's a lot of stuff going on, right? So there is for both types of problems today. And then I divide by 8. I'm going to get x greater than 4. I'm going to put it in the box. I'm going to let it sit. Okay? I'm going to get 3 different inequalities for x. When I'm done, one of them I'm going to throw out. So again, let's do super fast. What's the first step? Always combine like terms. Let's go do that. I'd have 13 x's, 25 minus 5, 20. I now am going to get the variable on one side, correct? Would I choose to subtract the 13 or subtract the 3? I would choose to subtract the 3 because I don't want to mess with negatives. So I'm going to go over here and subtract the 3x. Okay? So move the smaller one over. It makes your work, you're less likely to make a mistake, actually. All right. So there is my next statement. Last step, I'm going to have a 2-step process. In this case, it's an addition to undo. So I have 10x greater than negative 22. And my last step will be to divide by 10. All right, I get a decimal. That's okay. We got some decimals. No problem. So I have this one. All right. So here's your process on all of them. The sum of every 2 bigger than the third. So you're going to set up 1, 2, 3 algebraic expressions. You're going to solve each of them, correct? Now that you're down here, Miss Monroe, was everybody choosing to do it the one way last hour? I think they were. I gave them 2 ways last hour to decide which one of these to throw out, but I think they all were choosing the same way. So do you see how there's only one less than for each of the 3? Those other 2 are graders, correct? That means this has to be my upper boundary, all right? So that one's a no-brainer. X has to be less than 14. It's my only less than symbol. Decus, do you see how I have 2 greater than symbols here? I have to decide which one to use. And if you put these words and linking these, so go ahead and write and. If I were to tell Brody, so if you were to ask me, what do I need to get on my next test to have an A? And if I said your test has to be greater than 82% and greater than 85%, which one was worthless to say? 82, correct? Right? So when there's that and there, don't you have to be bigger than the biggest to be bigger than both? Right? So between these two, if I have to be greater than 4 and greater than -2, what do I really have to be bigger than? 4. Okay? Use that thought process to decide which one you're not going to use. It's not because that's a negative number, by the way. It depends on how those inequality signs. So what I'm going to do next is, this is what we did last hour, and it worked well because they did it. All right? So on the next one, we decided that's a lot of work. And I didn't want to do a bunch of examples, so we shared the labor on this one. So first of all, we're all going to go set it up, and then you two rows are going to do one column, then you two, so we're all just doing a third of the problem. Are you all right with that? So let's go set it up first. For all of these, we grab the first one from M to N, the second one, and we make sure that it outstretches the third one. The first 2 rows, you're going to solve only that one. Okay? The next one I'm going to set up is to grab the next 2, 9x minus 68. We're all going to go set them up here. So we're all doing it in the same order. These second 2 will have to outstretch the first one. You 2 rows, that's the only column you're going to solve. You good with that? You can do one of them, can't you do 3 of them? I think so. They're all similar. All right, in the last one, which didn't I grab yet? First and last bigger than the middle, right? Yeah. So the first, I try to do it the same every time, but the first and the last have to be bigger than the middle. These 2 rows over here on the left, that's the only one you're going to solve. So I'm going to give you some time. Rows 1 and 2, this one. Rows Alicia and Brody Marks, that one. Rose Schmurdy and Natalie, only that one. If you can solve one of those columns correctly, I think you could do all 3. If we agree, so should be doing it, Eli, do it. I don't have to do more. Working back there, Miss Em. Zach, you doing yours? But you know it's up. What? Why? Your what hurts? Carter thinks it's funny. Carter didn't do any of your work from being absent. It won't do itself. The locker gnomes are on strike. They're no longer completing their work. These 2 rows, do you have an agreement about your x? What does it have to be? Greater than 13? You agree? Cole? Greater than 13? Avery? Good? So they're saying greater than 13 for this one. Okay, I'm going to go box it in. I don't know if I'll use that yet or not. It's there. I'm assuming they agreed. My next 2 rows, Gavin, what'd you get for this guy? Okay. That's all right. They do take a while. I'll give you a little bit more time. You might get a decimal on one of them, right? Is this the one? Oh, we get a decimal on one of these next 2, so don't worry about it. I think it's like a 5 point something. 5.46-ish. Let's just, you should actually leave it as a fraction. But we'll go ahead and make it a decimal. Let's do, was it greater or less than? Greater than what? 5.46. Let's make it a 5.5. That's fine. As long as you guys agree. These last 2 rows, what'd you guys get, Delaney and Reed and Trudy? What'd you get? 21. Less than 21? Okay. Is that what you said? All right. So here's my 3 things. Which one for sure is in my answer? Because there's only one of them. 21. I have to remain under 21 according to these. So here's my x. I have to make sure it can't be 22 or 23 or 24. On the lower boundary, you decide, and we'll see if you decided correctly. That's the hardest part kind of is when you're done deciding which one you use. So again, if you have to bring more than $13 to get into the concert and more than $5.50, what do you really have to bring more than? 13. Okay? So let's put that 13 down there. Are you guys good with that process? What do you think? Can we skip the next one? Yes? All right, I hope so. All right. So then the next type of problem. So we're going to wait on this. Don't cross it off. We might need to do it tomorrow. Oops, I got to erase this from last time. And you can see we only did number 8. So I think this will be our last example. We'll see how it goes. So again, number 8 piggybacks off of something we've done already. If I told you this angle was 59, just go ahead and draw it over here kind of small. I'm making a little fake problem over here. This was 61, and this was 60. Do you remember how we decided how to order the sides? Because this is an angle measure, angle measure, angle measure. How did we decide how to order the sides from the smallest side to the biggest side? The angle across from it. Yeah, across from the smallest angle is the shortest side. So this guy would be the shortest. Across from the middle angle is the medium length side, and across from the biggest angle or the largest is the longest side. That is true and always happens. And I showed you kind of like with a hinge. Like as the angle gets bigger, the side across from it gets bigger. It makes sense, correct? The problem is over here. So go over here, move a little bit over to keep some room. We've got this triangle. I'm going to put it a J here, a K here, and an L here. And it's giving me the angle measures, but they're with algebra. So J right here is 2x plus 6. I'll give you time to draw it. I'm going to try to only do one of them. This one's 10x minus 11. And L is 3x minus 10. Alright. Go ahead and draw that. Sydney, say what? Every year on the test with this type of question, there's only one of them. How many? And there's only one like the last one, because they take a while, correct? So you have to have your poop in a group, but they're worth the most points. Every year I get people who are kind of confused with whether these are sides or angles. Like they'll do this one how we did the last one, like the sum of the two is bigger than the third. How do I know these are angle measures in there? Yeah, it shows the little degree symbol, and it says the measure of the angle. So I'm working with the angles in a triangle. That for sure I know what always happens with the angles inside a triangle, right? What do they always do? And regardless of how ugly they are. So before I can order the sides, let's go put our answer box right here. Before I can tell you what the shortest side is, I need to see the angle measure. To see the angle measure, I need x. To get x, I'm going to take all those angles, correct? I'm going to take the 2x plus 6 at the top. I'm going to take the 10x minus 11 at the bottom. I'm going to take the 3x minus 10, correct? And what am I going to set it equal to? 180. And I'm going to solve that, right? And to solve it, I'm going to combine all those like terms. So lots of algebra today. Looks like I have 15 x's when I tally those up. And then 6 minus 11 will give me negative 5, down 10. I'm down 15. Be very careful with that arithmetic if you need to use a calculator. Now the variable is on one side, so just 2 steps. I'm going to add 15. Let's go. I'm just doing one of these so I can do it nice and neat. And then what would my last step of this be, guys? Divide by what? 15. Can somebody go divide 195 by 15? 13. X is a 13. Perfect. Once I have x, what am I going to ask 3 of you with calculators to do with that x? Plug it in. Yeah, so Haley, if you have a calculator, if you could go plug my 13 in right here. Let's have Natalie plug the 13 in, or if you don't need a calculator, don't. Right here, and then you have a, and then Brody, you could put the 13 in right there for me. And those 3 will just do it for me. Alright. What's in at angle K? 119. Let's go put that on there. What's up at the top? 32. And what's my bottom one? How could I see if those answers are right and not just have to trust them? Add them up. Yep, and they do add up to 180. So now I'm ready to order the sides from the smallest one. So what angle am I going to head across from? The which one? 29, right? The smallest angle will pop open the shortest side. So JK is the shortest. The middle side will be across from the top angle because it's, so we had across from, so KL or LK, and then by far, because this is by far the biggest angle, 119, JL will be by far the longest side. What do you think, guys? Can you do it? I kind of want to be done, but I really cut out a lot, but you were listening. Do you feel confident? All right, so I'm going to pass out the worksheet. I'm going to tell you the order I want you to do it in, if I can remember where I put it. I'm going to pause this video, by the way. I'll just have one.